Hey, it's Callan from Integral Lifestyle Design, and today I want to talk to you about the truth about modern love and relationships. Because this seems like a really complicated topic, and society's all over the place with this at the moment. So, I wanted to give you my approach towards it. I want to give you some insights I've had towards it. And overall, I just want to have a conversation about it. So, a few things I want to talk about. First one is I want to talk about how love and relationships is different now than it was 50 years ago or so. So we'll start there. So 50 years ago, it was essentially boy meets girl, a boy would go and meet a girl, ask her on a date. The girl was chill with that, so they'd go on the date, they'd hang out, they'd have fun, maybe they'd hook up. And then after that, if that happened a few times, they'd get into a relationship, and if they started to deeply fall in love, they'd get together and have a family, and that was that. Today, that can happen, but it seems less probable. It doesn't seem like it happens as often. And I think there's a few reasons for that. One reason I think you've got these extremes on both sides. You've got groups of men that don't like women or want anything to do with women, and you've got groups of women that are the same. They don't want anything to do with men. And as a result, that messes with the dating pool. You've got these guys that will call themselves men going their own way. And essentially, these men want nothing to do with women. They don't feel like they need women in their lives. They look at all, I guess, the negative things that could happen, like divorce or losing their income or losing their children and all these things that could and do happen. And as a result, men choose not to get into a serious relationship with a woman. And in this culture, there can be a lot of hatred, there can be a lot of anger at the opposite sex and such, right? Now, if you skew across to the female version of that, you've got groups of, like, feminism's fine, but you've got groups of feminists that take it to an extreme where essentially they want nothing to do with men. They see men as a waste of time. They see men as like a force that limits them in the world. And as a result, they want nothing to do with men. They don't date men and they don't want any, not going to fall in love. They don't want to have kids and, they're not going to be in their feminine around a man and so on. Which again, that can ruin modern love and relationships. Another one is polarity, right? Usually in the 50s, 1950s, 1960s, men were in their masculine, women were in their feminine. Not in every area of their life, but in the sake of a relationship, a man was in a masculine role and a woman was in a feminine role. And that was sort of the default. Obviously, there was outliers. There's always outliers, but there was a lot more of that. Now it seems like men are less in their masculine than they used to be, and women are less in their feminine than they used to be. And as a result, that attraction that happens from masculine and feminine energy doesn't seem to be there as much as it once was. So as you can see, there's a couple of things going on with love and relationships right now that are just hectic. You look at the divorce rate. The divorce rate back then was way lower, and maybe that's because people didn't want to do it because they would have been shunned or whatever it is. But now in a first marriage, the divorce rate's 50%, and in the second marriage, if they get married again, it's 65 to 70%. So heaps of people are getting divorced, People are having to be married longer. A long time ago, if you got married, maybe you're looking at 20, 30 years. You get married now, you could be looking at 50, 60 years, and that's a really long time to be with the same person, and you would have to be really growing with that person in order to make a relationship last that long. And I've seen relationships in my life that do, where both people are genuinely happy, but it's not the norm. It's sort of the exception, and it's a true gift. So there's so much going on right now, right? You've got other things that are a bit full on, like you've got pornography, for example, which it does affect women, but it affects men more because I think men on average are more visual. So you've got a lot of men that are watching pornography that are like sedating themselves in these ways. And maybe the version of that for women is something like Instagram or something like that, where they're getting these dopamine boosts from posting photos and getting like after like and followers and all this stuff, right? And again, that dilutes modern love and relationships. Also, people now have higher standards. So men basically have the standard that they want to be with a beautiful, stunning, perfect, fit, feminine, fun woman, which makes sense. And then women have this thing where they want to be with a tall, well-off, comfortable, chill, loyal sort of guy. And again, on both ends, there's only a very few number of people out there that are these extremes, that like is the extreme thing that a man would want or the extreme thing that a woman wants. And they don't really settle anymore, men and women. They're always looking for something better. They're always looking to upgrade. And Because of that, again, love and relationships don't last as long as they once did. So they've made it, the world and the culture and all this has made love and relationships and dating so much more complicated than it ever was. Now people have the internet, they've got dating apps, you can hook up with someone across your city that you never would have met. And that could keep it interesting, if you're married and you download a dating app and all of a sudden, especially if you're a woman, you see a bunch of attractive guys who want to sleep with you, that's going to be a pretty tempting thing. And because of that, again, you have problems that can lead to things and struggles in modern love and relationships, and that makes it hard. And it's a really interesting kind of thing to explore, if you ask me, because the whole dynamics of dating has changed. And for better or for worse, you can argue either way, but the fact is that the rules of the game have changed. The aim of the game, in an extent, has also changed. So what do you do? What do you do in that kind of world? And there's no right or wrong answer to that. You have to sort of figure that out. If you want to find a traditional long-term monogamous relationship, though, in 2022, that's going to be way harder to do than it was in, say, 1950, just because of the way the world is, right? Everyone has really high standards for everybody else. Everybody's really selective, really picky. Everybody's really entitled. You get these crazy pulls and these crazy things that happen that make modern dating and relationships much harder than it ever was, right? And that for me is utterly fascinating, which is why I'm making this video, to sort of explore it, okay? Because it's really interesting. Now you can do it, modern love and relationships can still be a very powerful thing. It's only been over like the last couple of 100 years that people have actually married and gotten together because of love. Before that, it was all business. It was sort of conjoining two families or groups of people so they could share resources. So it's really different now that it is about love and it's about romance, and it's beautiful in that way that you can choose your partner. Your family doesn't choose your partner, you choose your own partner, and you have the freedom to do that. And it's really cool that we've gotten to that place where we can do that now. Another thing that's really interesting is how you've got all the pills. If you've been, especially if you're a guy and you've been on the internet in the last 5 years, you've seen one of these pills. You've got the blue pill, which is basically the guy that's like indoctrinated into the old school belief that you just magically have like this Disney kind of relationship. You've got the red pill guys that are like super rational about it, and they try and see all the patterns and all the flaws in women and all the ways to manage to sleep with more women and all this stuff, and they try to be really rationalist about it. You've got purple pill, you've got white pill, you've got all these different things. You've got all these archetypes like alpha males who are like the guys that run everything, and the big like muscly kind of guys that get all the women. You've got the betas that are the guys that are competing to that, and you've got the gammas and the omegas who are like the guys that are sort of the outcasts. You've got the sigmas who are sort of like the guys that just roam and do whatever they want to do, and they could be an alpha if they wanted to. So it's crazy that you've got all these archetypes, and the same with women. You've got like the Stacys, that's like the cliche kind of dumb hot girl. You've got all these different things, and it's really funny how the internet and social media and all these things has just changed dating in so many ways. It's utterly fascinating. Like if you look at a relationship now and how much more complicated it is than what it used to be, it's changed dramatically. For better or for worse, I have no idea, but the fact is that the rules of the game have changed, It almost feels like, as a guy, if you want to attract a quality woman now, you can't be average. It seems like if you're an average guy, you're just not going to have that option. It seems like you sort of have to be in the top 20%, or even maybe the top 10% of guys, in order to really have a shot meeting the kind of girl you want to meet. Another thing too is people are so overweight, There's so many women and also so many men that don't look after themselves, that are overweight. There's so many more mental health problems now. There's so many more addictions, including things like social media. And it's just crazy. It's a really, really crazy dynamic, and the world is changing so fast, and it almost feels like it's changing faster than we can adapt to it. It almost feels like things are moving more quickly than we could ever keep a grip on. And as part of lifestyle design, and you're trying to design your love life, it's along the lines of what do you actually want? Do you want a long-term monogamous relationship with that perfect partner? Do you want to date around and have fun? Do you want multiple relationships? Do you want to be single? Do you just want nothing to do with women and to go down that men going their own way path? You know, what do you actually want? Because in this modern decentralized market, I guess, you can sort of have whatever strategy you want to have and you can try different things, which is pretty exciting and quite different than what it's been in history for the most part. It's far less rigid, and that's some of the benefits of modern love and relationships. I can tell you my personal approach as a guy as to how to navigate this. Say you were a guy and you wanted a girlfriend in a kind of traditional monogamous relationship. This would be my personal way of doing that. So you'd start off single with no women that you're dating or seeing. And I've talked about this before in a video called The Relationship Cycle. But you'd start off single, then you'd start dating around, then you might have a couple of girls that you're sort of hooking up with or something, and then eventually one will come along that you really click with, that you want something a bit deeper with, and all of a sudden you start to fall in love, she starts to fall in love, and you go deeper and you fall into that monogamous kind of relationship. But I think there's a lot of vetting, there's a lot of trial and error now, and you have to kind of enjoy dating because you're going to go on a lot of dates, probably before you meet that person. You're going to meet a lot of people. You're going to have some people that you really click with, and there's going to be other people that you just outright don't click with. But don't see that as a chore. You know, if you're going on heaps of dates, try and have fun with it. Try and be fun and to have fun with a group of people and to explore and just to enjoy it, to meet different people, to understand different people, to figure out what you like and to figure out what you want in a partner. And to do all these things because that'll keep it fun, you know. That'll keep the modern love and relationship dynamic fun. And I think too, you want to look at how you feel in the present moment. So if you're in a relationship and it's healthy, it's thriving, your partner's looking after themselves, you're looking after yourself, then that's an awesome relationship to be in. And if you're feeling happy and fulfilled, then you're winning. But if you're in a relationship and your partner's not looking after themselves, say they've put on a bunch of weight or they just don't care anymore, and you know they've just got a toxic attitude or the intimacy goes away or whatever reason, if a bunch of things start stacking on top of each other, then maybe in this modern dating age you want to probably move away and to see someone else who does meet your needs. You know, there's no point hanging around in a relationship if it's toxic because it's your life and you want to make the most of it. So I hope you enjoyed this little concept of exploring this because I think it's really interesting and there's way more truths than I could ever have explored in this video. But there's so much here that you could dive into, and I'd love it if you leave a comment with your perspectives or your opinions on modern love and relationships. Do you like how it is now? Would you rather have dated back in like the 50s or earlier when it was more simple and more straightforward? What's your particular preference? Because I'd love to know, and that's a conversation I think that would be really interesting to have both from the perspective of men and women. And apart from that, peace out and enjoy the rest of your day.